has come to me. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. But it comes to the end of my life. Jesus saved me a time. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Running fast for the edge of my life. Jesus saved me a time. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Running fast for the edge of my life. Jesus saved me a time. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Running fast for the edge of my life. Jesus saved me a time. Jesus saved me a time. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Running fast for the edge of my life. Jesus saved me a time. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Running fast for the edge of my life. Jesus saved me a time. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Happiness comes so seldom. That has come to me. Happiness comes. That has come to me. Running fast for the edge of my life. Jesus saved me a time. It is here in the Father's kingdom. It was there for me. You took me, and you washed away my sins. You washed away my sins.
You ready? You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network.
Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, theys, and gays. This is the Real Pineapple. This is your very, very emotional co-host Hunter here. I hope you're safe. I hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good holiday. If you're still celebrating a holiday, I hope you're enjoying it. Hope you're getting all the foods. I am really excited. I actually had this person on the podcast a couple years ago for our Home Alone and our Home Alone 2 reviews. So it's been a few years, but she does most of the artwork for the Real Pineapple. She's a huge nerd, huge gamer, and most importantly, one of my best friends. I've got Christina here. Christina, how are you, homie?
Good. How are you?
Oh man, I'm emotional as fuck. I just finished watching this movie called Sing Sing, which is this big Oscar contender about um men incarcerated who go ahead and put on like plays within the prison system through this organization called RTA, and that shit just broke me. So like when you, so when I messaged you, it's like I'm crying, and you're like, oh no, I was like no, it's like it's
I was like,
movie
are you
related.
okay? We don't have to do this right now. I just don't know if you're feeling all right or what's happening over there. But yeah, definitely know the feels of the movie heartstrings being pulled.
So I'm good. I'm good. It's fine. I'll review it here at some point this week. But most important, how are you, friend? How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, actually. Thanks for having me on again. I'm really excited for this episode. As you know, I am a huge Borderlands fan.
You're probably the biggest Borderland fan. Like probably you and Kalani are like
I
the
mean, I
two.
have Claptrap tattooed on my leg. It doesn't really get more fan than that, I guess.
True. But it's actually something you like kind of got me to play because you talked about it so much. So I actually played. I don't know. I probably got 12 hours into Borderlands One, and then I logged a decent amount of time. I mean, I am in no way like a a nerd on it, but I enjoyed it while I was playing. But it's gone to my uh game box of shame on my Steam with all the other games I keep buying and go like, oh, I'll get around to this and still haven't. Like y'all, I have Mass Effect and Halo both in there, like both collections of those in there. So if that tells you anything, I fuck, I'll get to them at some point, but just
I think we
yeah,
all have a shame box. You're not alone there. I can't tell you how many times I've been like, I'm going to start this game. And I've at least gotten to the point where I'm like, I won't start a game unless I know I'm going to finish it and have the time to really commit to it. And as you know, I
fair.
go really hard in the paint when I start a game. I'm just
You
like
do.
hours on end. Like it's hard to pull me out. I just, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Just kind of, there's something about Borderlands that just hooked me from the first game that just it just hit all the spots for me and really got me into first person shooters and really like video games as a whole, other than just growing up with like Mario and those
Yeah.
simple like Donkey Kong games where it's a little more like adventure based. But getting into like the big kid games, I guess you could say, like
Yeah.
Borderlands was like, it opened that door for me where I was like, oh, I'm actually not bad at this game. And just the characters and the style overall, it just hits so many boxes for me. I'm like, yes, this is good. This is good. And the humor and just, it's just all good.
So before we get to our review, which is we are reviewing Borderlands today, I have a fun story about that. So before we get there, we have something that we always do on the stream called Soapbox Corner, which is it's a safe space, people. So I allow myself and my guests to just rant about something that is good, bad, somewhere in between. I have a few things, but guest always goes first. So is there anything that you would like to rant about, celebrate, anything in between? The floor is yours.
Funny enough, I was actually just ranting about AI with my therapist earlier today, which I know is
Okay.
like such a weird topic right now because I feel like there's still a lot of really good use for AI, but there's just so much about AI that I feel like it's being used in ways that it's just, we're going to become so reliant on things to a point where like as for an example, like GPS, I can go the same place like 5 times in a row in the matter of a couple months, and I still sometimes have to use GPS because I just, for me, it's like the mindlessness of just listening to music and just
I get
making
that.
there, not having to think like, oh shit, I just missed my turn, or like, because I'm still new, you know, I don't get out of my little bubble here in Reno. I haven't been to Reno for super long, only since 2018, which the pandemic messed up a good portion of that.
Oh yeah, we're not in Reno. I don't want any Fox News people come after me. So yeah, we're not in Nevada. We're not in the West Coast at all. So
we're not here. We're nowhere. We're in the we're in like a limbo somewhere. No one knows.
exactly.
But yeah, I just feel like AI is just really becoming this thing that not everyone using AI, but I just feel like it's being used in ways that is not conducive to making us smarter humans, and it's going to make us more reliant on things to be like, hey, I didn't have to write this essay, ChatGPT did it for me. So rather than just like using it for inspiration, which is kind of how I use it when I do dabble in a little bit of AI here and there, but just the fact that you could start a whole business with AI, it's kind of wild to me. I don't know. It just, and I just feel like it's taking a lot of like, it's just cluttering everything. You can't look at anything on the internet and you're without being like, is this AI? That hand looks a little weird over there. And like that shelf, I don't think physics don't make that make sense. So there's just so much like, gosh forbid, I've seen so many people sharing things where they're like, isn't this beautiful? It's like, yeah, but it's also not real. And I don't know. And the impacts on the environment is really where it hits the hardest for me, because I'm like, we already have enough. We're already like screwing up our environment enough, and the last thing we need to do is dump more energy into AI resources for cooling and systems and whatever science stuff, you know. But it just drives me nuts. Like, our planet is so precious, and just stop killing our planet, man. Just stop it. It's not worth it.
It's amazing how many people have like seen Fern Gully and clearly aren't connecting like the giant ass dot that movie is like myself God, I almost don't even want to rant about this because I already know, but I'm gonna.
It was just fresh on my mind. I had to. Sorry.
No. That again, this is why it's here. So I have talked about AI and how much I'm a Terminator fan. Like, why the fuck would I, be in favor of AI? But I'm gonna be real. And this is the one thing I'll say about, because I don't want to make it into a whole thing. But with that CEO getting shot, the amount of people I saw talking about watching the Muppet Christmas Carol, and not understanding, again, the giant ass dot that film is putting out to you. It's like, if people are celebrating your death, you are probably a piece of shit when you're alive. And the thing is, it's not that hard to be just fucking decent. And so then to hear what this new CEO, how he's like, oh, yep, nothing's changing. I'm like, oh, cool, you learned nothing. So going into 2025, I am I'll be the first to admit, I've made my unemployment jokes. This year has sucked for me. This has been the worst year I've had probably since my dad died. So that's 20, 30, 37. So that's 23 years ish. So yeah, this year sucked. This year has been very bad. But I'm also a fan of actually taking frustration and anger and channeling it for good. And so if you're one of those people like myself who had a rough year, please check in on your people. But above all else, please check in on yourself and make sure that you're not pouring from empty cup, because I am horrendous at that. And I have been trying to be better as far as actually taking and making space for myself. So I know a lot of people are scared. I know a lot of groups are scared. And what I will tell you is that this podcast will be here to hopefully entertain and inform, probably upset you a little bit, because if I'm not upsetting everyone, then what am I doing? But just please know that, that the world is better because you're here, even when things are heavy. So just please hold on to that as we head into God. Oh my God, the first is in like a day and a half. Fuck, I forgot. So yeah, the New Year's almost here, and then my last quick thing is I'm really over gaming companies in terms of like just not caring. Like the amount of companies that like Bethesda and others are acquiring and then not putting any effort or promotion into these small indie games and then going like, this game didn't sell, screw you, we're shutting your studio down. It's like, okay, don't acquire the fucking studio if you don't have a goddamn plan. I think the fall of Rocksteady Games is going to be studied for decades because they made 2 brilliant Batman games, and even the third one's good. It's fine. It's just like just you picked the Batmobile, not the Batwing, and I said that was a mistake when they announced it. So just would like to throw that out there. But then you get Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League, like a game that man, I played like 2 hours of it, and I was like, this is fucking dog shit. And it's such a bummer because if you would make like I don't know, a Justice League game or a Superman game, one of those that people actually want to play. And okay, I will say too, and I'm still somewhat salty about it. I'll be the first to admit. As someone who bought the fucking Earth's Mightiest Heroes edition of that Avengers game, $200 by the way, and that game got supported longer than even Suicide Squad did. I still have it on my drive. It's fun in those. Y'all remember those like just beat 'em up games they would have like at Round Table, like those AKI, like I think it's AKI, like that company, and it was just like, you're a samurai, kill all these people on screen. Like that's pretty much how I play the Avengers game, and I have fun with it in that way. But $200 for a game that's no longer being supported, and that got like 3 expansion updates, still pisses me off. I'm still mad at Crystal Dynamics for that. How do you fuck up the event? Like, god damn it. But I will say I'm playing Marvel Rivals now, and I fucking love that game, and I'm already depressed because I know they're gonna be like, hey, you want to go ahead and buy this costume with your real money? It's like, no, I don't. And then at some point I'm be like, well, like, yeah, exactly. So I'm already just like, you assholes. But yeah, studios, for the love of God, like if you're getting an IP, like who is it that does Hitman? That's not Bethesda, is it?
I don't think it's Bethesda. I can picture like the logo, but
I can too, and I cannot.
I do want to also piggyback on that, and I do feel like I feel like Cyberpunk is like a perfect example of this, where it's like,
yeah, fair.
They just need to take their time with games. Like, don't worry about pushing it out so fast because everyone's ready and waiting, anticipating this game or whatever. And maybe it's been 10 plus years or something, but that'd be like Half-Life too. Like, not to throw that out there, but like if they brought that out, like, don't rush it. Obviously it's been forever already. Like, I don't know. It's just, I feel like there for a while, it just reminds me of them pumping out like COD games every single year, which it was like, you're not really changing anything. You're just like putting a new like paint on it and calling it a new game and maybe adding like one little thing here and there. But the COD should not be 200 gigs, my friends. It should not be 200 gigs because you needed 1,000 updates. Like, wait to roll it out, polish it before you send it out and have 1,000 patches and updates. Like, that's been my rant for years. Like, because I loved Cyberpunk once it was finally playable and I got a PS5, which was strong enough to play the game. But it was like, it came out and just, as we all saw, it flunked so hard. It was like,
yeah,
you guys just learn from that. Even like Dead Island 2, it went through Dead Island 2 went through like a nightmare of development issues and going from like company to company. And it's like, someone at least got it right and pushed out the game finally. But God, we had to wait forever for that. I think it was like almost a decade. So it's like,
yeah.
Yikes! Just take your time, polish it.
I think another good example of that's something like No Man's Sky, where that launch was fucking disastrous,
Yep.
and like the developers went, okay, let's actually get in the lab and fix this. And that game, like the turnaround, the 180 that game has made is insane. So I mean, it's possible, people. You just need to actually put in the work and be willing to actually listen to your fans a little bit. That applies to EA with Madden each year, because that is something that's still just the way they just go like, oh wait, do you want all the stuff that we've removed 15 years ago in the game? It's like, yeah, that'd be nice. You're making me pay $60 for this fucking game. Like, could you actually fucking try? But
yeah, and that's also, I just also like just piece this into, this is why alphas and betas are important. Send those to us, give us them codes, let us give you feedback, let us tell you what didn't work, because obviously servers are a huge issue. You think the game's polished and you send it out, and then there's too many people getting on, the servers are crashing. So again, alphas and betas, come on, companies.
I have legit logged and this is child's play, because my friend Brandon, shout out to Brandon, he's probably logged 50 hours on Marvel Rivals already. I think I've logged like 13 hours. I haven't had a disconnection. I have not had a matchmaking take longer than 20 seconds, which is absurd. I haven't had any lags. Like my shit's like, the servers are running great. So I gotta give them their props for that. I'd never gotten to Fortnite or Overwatch. I was just like, nah. But this is just hitting like all the right spots for me. So that'll probably be what I'm playing heading to the new year. But speaking of games, it was IO Interactive and Square, by the way, for Hitman.
I was literally thinking like Square for some reason.
Yeah.
Square kept coming up, and I was like, I don't know if that's a company. Like, what?
But they're doing the new James Bond game, which is why I bring that up. And like, we haven't really heard anything about that. Like, they announced it like 3 years ago, and it's been kind of radio silent since then. So
I was gonna say, this like is ringing like a real tiny bell, but I'm like, I haven't seen anything about it. So.
Yeah. So, well, I say because the new Indiana Jones game came out, and that's getting rave reviews. I'll get it at some point. Like, I'm in movie mode, people. I can't start a new game right now.
There's also just so much content, as you know. There's so many times where you'd be like, hey, check this movie out. I'm like, my watch list is already like infinitely long, and I've got all the different streaming, so it's like trying to chip away and also maintain every other area of my life is just so hard.
It's hard.
So,
it's hard.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So,
yeah.
But with that said, Borderlands is our review today, which is directed by Eli Roth, a director who I have admittedly a very somewhat abusive relationship with, because when Eli Roth hits like Thanksgiving's a badass fucking movie. I actually finally watched that. Shout out to Nick over at the Afternoon Tune. I dig the fuck out of that movie. Because then you'll get like Thanksgiving, or you'll get like The House with a Clock in Its Walls, which is a shockingly good kids horror flick. I was never crazy about Hostel. I was just like, whatever. Grindhouse is good. Grindhouse is fine. Knock Knock is weird, because it's just weird to see Keanu Reeves like having a three-way, but it's a fun flick. And then you get Death Wish, which is some bullshit. And so when I heard he was doing this, I went, all right, this is either going to be shockingly good or it's going to be absolute poo. Because that's kind of his filmography in a nutshell. It's usually like I don't go into an Eli Roth film expecting like subtlety. So when I heard they were doing this, I was like, okay. I actually thought of you first, because I was like, oh, they're doing a Borderlands movie like for Christina. I hope it's good. And then like you go through the list of people, like you get Kate Blanchett, you have Kevin Hart, you have Edgar Ramirez, Jamie Lee Curtis, Jack Black. I mean, it's a top tier cast given star power, but I think that's kind of my issue, is that it's an A cast that I don't think connects to the games at all. Like, so the bit I do remember from Borderlands, like I remember Roland, and he does not look like Kevin Hart, and just and
Not in the
and,
slightest, not even a little bit.
and from Jump, that was my, because I think that was like the first bit of cast, or one of the first bits of casting that was announced. I remember just going, "Oh, I don't like that at all. I think that's a horrendous choice." And then he had his quote, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, but basically he said, "Oh yeah, basically he said, I'm too busy and famous to get to Comic-Con, but we're excited to prove the doubters wrong," essentially what he said. And when I read that, I went, "Oh no, this is gonna be crap." Because if you're already that in your feelings with people having genuine concerns, because like Kevin Hart is like as tall as my desk, and it's one of those things where I'm like, all right, you're supposed to be this badass military soldier. And the other thing that I don't think enough people point out is Kevin Hart's been doing this show. I think it was a web series. Like you can watch it on Prime now, but he was doing this show called Die Hard, and it's basically a parody of Die Hard, of him wanting to be an action star, which I was kind of like, all right, that's an interesting concept. But now with this movie Lift that he did on Netflix, where he's leading a heist team, and then Borderlands, where he's playing it's like, oh, so that's not a joke. You want to be an action star, but all due respect, man, like I don't even think you're a comedian, let alone, let alone an action star. And watching him in this, man, like watching him in this felt like when I was a kid and I would pretend to be my dad by wearing like his Sunday suit, and I'd be like, that's what this felt like in terms of him being a military person. Because even when he's shooting a gun, it just feels like he's not, like there's no emotion behind it. I'm like, all right, like this should warrant some sort of reaction. So before I throw it to you to tell the quick story, I watched this on, what's the day? Monday. So I watched this on Saturday. I actually started my day with my coffee. Like, so I lit up my bong, I get my coffee, Milo's sitting in my lap. I'm like, all right, we're gonna watch this and we're just gonna knock it out. And I got 30 minutes in. I was just like, oh man, like there's really no saving this. Like 30 minutes in, I was like, all right, this is kind of chosen its path, and it seems kind of determined to stay on this. And I will say,
I'm impressed you made it 30 minutes before you had that thought. I just want to throw that out there. Just
I tried. I honestly was trying, because like I didn't read any reviews. Like I knew the reviews were negative, but I didn't read. I could sit down and actually read any reviews. I was like, okay, let's see. But the one thing I will say about this movie that I actually liked is Ariana Greenblatt. I think that's how you say it. So she was actually in Barbie, which was actually really funny in. She's in 65, which is Adam Driver fighting a dinosaur, which fuck yeah, it's dumb as hell.
Adam Driver. Just have to throw that out there.
Yeah,
we love him.
He's wonderful.
He's a green flag human for sure.
Right, and I mean those John Oliver jokes he was making about him, that alone made me like Adam Driver more, because to be able to take those jokes is absurd. But I really liked her as Tiny Tina, and I say that because I feel like she's the only one who might have played the game and been like, okay, I actually think I have a hold of what, like, and at least an idea of what this character is. Because whenever she throws a stuffed rabbit, the genuine joy she has out of being like terrible, it's kind of that Louise Belcher energy. And I was like, you know what? I actually like this. Like in pockets, I like this. The problem is no one else around her is helping her. And it really honestly bummed me out, because it felt like, because I mean, she's like, I think she's a pretty young actress. I think she's like 17. So I mean, her career is just getting started. And even looking at her IMDb, I mean, she was young Gamora in Infinity War. That's cool. So I mean, she's only been acting for like 9 years. So I mean, her career is getting started. She's acting alongside pros and vets, and it's like, okay, this is just a check to them, but for her, this is an opportunity. And it's like, okay, girl, like she really is trying. And even when she's talking about her her dad, which we'll get to that guy. But when she's talking about all this, I went, okay, I actually am believing what she's saying. But then the problem is she's acting alongside Kate Blanchett, who plays Lilith, who, and this is where I'll throw it to you here in just a sec. I love Kate Blanchett. She's total mommy vibes. God help me, she's so goddamn fine. She's been one of my favorite actresses for years, whether it's Nightmare Alley, whether it's What If, whether it's Tar, whether it's oh my god, Ocean's 8. Like, she's How to Train Your Dragon 2. I could go on and on. You know, fucking Hobbit. Like, she's been a great actress for literally decades. And I just don't get, outside of wanting to redo your kitchen, why you take this fucking role. Like, I don't get it. And the more I watched it, I went, clearly Lilith is a star in this, and she's clearly going to be the key to everything, because if you've watched a movie before, you know she's going to end up becoming the key to everything. But there is this point, I swear this last point I'll make before I throw it to you. When she becomes a Firehawk, I straight up laughed. Like, that was kind of my, like, all right.
The shirt ripped off a little bit, you know.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I just went, no, because I actually had to go back through. I don't remember the term Firehawk even being uttered before that point in the movie, because I was listening. I actually went back and rewound it. I was like, did I miss something where they brought up the Firehawk? And I was like, oh no, they just flat out never mentioned this. And it's tied to her mom, but like only in the last 20 minutes where they actually do a flashback. So I'm not gonna lie, if I was a fan of this, I'd be fucking furious. Like, this felt like when I watched Super Mario Brothers as a kid, and I was like, this isn't Super Mario at all. Like, what the fuck? Like, why does this look like Demolition Man and not fucking the Mushroom Kingdom? And this shit just okay. Last thing, I swear to God. For a game that's so bright and colorful, this has some of the most muted colors. And I was like, how is this like this? Like, I thought at worst the cinematography would be something, and it's so like lifeless. And yeah. So, Christina, my friend, I will throw it to you. Floor is yours.
Okay. I am very glad. I do like hearing your take on Tiny Tina, because I feel like I was very mixed bag with her. I do feel like cast-wise, she was a pretty good choice overall. Like, she fits the stature, the overall, like, she can do it. I just feel like with her in particular, I feel like there was just something missing with, like, there was just a spark of Tina missing, because if you play the game and see Tiny Tina's little parts, or even play Wonderlands, which she was like the main, it was like a spin-off Borderlands kind of game, but she was kind of like a dungeon master, and you're playing D&D type RPG based. It was really cool. But anyway, when you play the game, you just immediately get her vibe. You immediately, where you're almost kind of annoyed, because she's just this like pipsqueak, like little shithead, honestly. And she's just this like, for me, I'm a child-free person, as you are. We don't like just hearing certain like just hearing her talk sometimes. I was just like, ugh. But like, I love her. You just like can't not love her, because she's just this like wild card. And I feel like the actress did kind of portray aspects of that, but it almost feels like someone was sitting on a chair behind the camera saying like, yeah, that was great, instead of saying like, hey, give it more, give it a little bit more, put a little more energy into this, like maybe even like talk with a little bit higher pitch, just to be like more childlike. And just, I feel like she did well with what she was dealt, because as you've already pointed out, the rest of the cast was not giving her a lot to work on. And clearly the people behind the cameras also weren't either. The director, whoever was in charge of saying, this is great. And yeah, check to Roland. I feel like Kevin Hart, like, and I do want to point out, I love all of these actors and actresses, like, as human beings and as like other stuff that they've done. Like Kevin Hart, like in Central Intelligence, I've watched it a bazillion times.
He's good. He's really good in that. Like credit where it's due. Like I am no Kevin Hart fan at all. I think he's vastly overrated. But Central Intelligence, I will give him. I think he's actually really good in that.
I think you nailed it. I feel like you need to pace yourself, and I don't know that Kevin Hart's really done that. And I feel like it's almost one of those things where it's like, I like that he's still trying like different, like the Die Hard thing, and just like trying like different avenues with his talents because he is a talented person. But I just feel like he's played out a little bit. Like I'm just like, okay, we're on a break, Kevin, because I've seen you and you've done all the things that I've liked, and I don't know that you can do much more that I'm really going to be like surprised by. And like nothing in his role in this movie it wasn't Kevin Hart, you know what I mean? It was him forcing a role that didn't feel right for to me as the watcher, and it just what's so weird to me too, and why I initially was like, I'll give it a chance, was because Borderlands has such a like raunchy humor to it, and a lot of it is very subtle, whether it's in the dialogue or, for example, I can't recall. I think it was in Borderlands 2. There was this part you have to, maybe it's 3, but anyway, you have to essentially find scrapped claptraps, and that's like kind of like a side quest thing that you just do throughout the game. It's not, like, hey, get this many clap. So anyway, you get into this little den and there's like these posters all over the wall. And if you really pay attention to all the details in the game with the posters on the wall and just like little things like that, there's some hilarious content there. And it's so easy to miss out on if you're just, because you're shooting and looting. That's what the game's about. But
yeah,
there's just a humor level that Borderlands has that I was thinking, like, I think Kevin Hart can bring that humor to this movie, and I feel like that's going to like fit in with the world of Borderlands in a way that's going to make it be okay that maybe he's not this huge buff black guy that looks completely different. Like visually speaking, he just didn't fit the role, but
yeah,
he gave nothing. There was not a moment in the movie where I even went, like, not even a chuckle where I'm like, I know you guys meant this to be funny, but it wasn't at all. Whereas with Borderlands, it's like this clever, raunchy humor where you're like, that's fucking hilarious. And he didn't bring any of that. So while I tried to give it a try, because my experience with the Borderlands movie starting from the get-go was, fuck yes, they're making a Borderlands movie. I'm stoked.
I remember you were excited. You were genuinely hyped.
Yeah, and then I start hearing about the cast, and I'm like, okay, Cate Blanchett, first of all, like, again, love the whole cast as people, but Lilith was not Cate Blanchett old, and I'm sorry, but like there's only so you just I don't even want to go down that route, but like I just could not get over the choice for her as Lilith, because also the character in the game, while she is very serious and very like kind of like sassy sometimes, like they kind of portrayed Lilith as a bitch in the movie in a way where I was like, she isn't this fucking abrasive in the game. Why did you have to take it that far?
That was kind of my big that's kind of one of my big. So okay, I think I can almost imagine the pitch meeting for this, to be honest, because all I kept thinking is they probably went, we want our own Guardians of the Galaxy. Like that's 1,000% what this felt like. We we have a CGI like side character, we have these A-list actors, like let's make our own Guardians of the Galaxy. But what they really should have done is made their own The Suicide Squad, which is another James Gunn film where you've got where ironically enough, Idris Elba plays Bloodshot, who's this military badass. And I was sitting here the whole time thinking, if you put Idris Elba in here instead of Kevin Hart, he would have been, I mean, A, better to look at, but B, but B, like Idris Elba has the swagger and the confidence and the background to play a military person.
Exactly.
And I honestly do think that even if you kept everything else the same, I think Idris Elba's a good enough actor that he could have mined like a little chicken salad out of this chicken shit, like because the script's not doing Roland any favors,
Right.
but Hart is delivering even the quote badass on a quote line so flatly that I'm like,
Mhm.
you need someone who has like a thespian, like you need an Idris Elba or like a Keanu, like you need someone of that ilk to try to, you know, get something out of this. The
Mhm.
other thing that I also noticed is I could actually tell, and this is how badly the movie is cut. I can actually like because there's this shootout that Kate Blanchett has, like that Lilith has in this bar pretty early on in the movie, and you can actually see where they're cutting to make sure that you don't see blood. Like they're already making the edits for like a TV version of this, like to show
For
this
the
on PBS.
PG-13.
Exactly. But that's
Yeah.
the thing. This is PG-13. I was fucking shocked when I looked this up. I was like, "This is PG-13?" I was like,
This this movie should have been rated R just based on like if anyone plays the game and understand and like gets a splash of the humor and hears even off in the background, one of the things that you hear a lot from psychos that are coming trying to chop your head off, like they're saying, which also brings me to another point too, like they say strip the flesh strip the flesh, salt the wound, and just like that kind of thing, just like strip the flesh, salt the wound, like that kind of humor was nowhere in this movie. And that specifically that line when they were in it was towards like the middle, like back half, I think, of the movie where they were in, not to like jump too far ahead because
"Oh no, we're jumping around. You're good."
yeah, so they were in that like underground club, for the lack of better terms, where they were trying to like get through to like get Tiny Tina to wherever, you know. They were I saw it because I'm a subtitle slut. I love
Same,
subtitles. I cannot
same,
watch something without
same,
subtitles.
same.
And that line came up in subtitles, but I audibly did not hear it. It might have been very quiet if I had turned my volume up 1,000 times more than what it was, but it was just like that was such a like cop out to just slip that into a subtitle in the background because it was like something that they yelled at you all the time, and like you should that just the way that this game was such a level of humor and brilliance that just wasn't captured in this movie. It just bummed me out from the get-go because also going back to Kate Blanchett being arguably the wrong choice for Lilith on all ways, shapes, or forms.
Yeah.
I think, and Tanis. Okay, Tanis is another one that I'm very on the fence with, as I am with pretty much all of the cast.
Is that the guy with the mask? Or
Tanis is Jamie Lee Curtis. So,
okay, yeah.
what really confused me is like the only thing I can think of as to why they casted her for this part was they were like, well, she already has the haircut, so let's just hire her. Like we know she can act, so whatever role we put her in, she'll be fine. Obviously, like she's a good actress, but like let's have her in the role. And what's weird to me too is like Tanis's hair was not gray. You went all out to make Lilith's hair look video game. Like they did a great job with Lilith's hair. I will say that every day of the week. They did great with even like the costumes, like some of the stuff on the sets. They really captured Borderlands feel, but put a wig on her, color her hair brown at least. Like there was just so many inconsistencies where they were like, Lilith, yeah, make her hair perfect. Tanis, yeah, leave it gray. Let's just leave it gray. It's fine. Even though her character has like a dark brown hair, and it just, and also just to, because I really don't have a lot to say about Tanis, but that first scene where they're like introducing Tanis in her lab or whatever, I caught a glimpse. I'm like, I don't know if I should have just seen that much cleavage from Jamie Lee Curtis. Like you know me, I'm as pansexual as they come. Like I love me some boobies. I love me some booties. Let me,
Yeah, who doesn't?
I like start looking up pictures of Tanis. I'm like, I don't remember her being like the busty gal, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't know that she had like a shirt that had that cut out before. I didn't see it anywhere. It just threw me off where I was like, that's a really weird choice because Tanis was like usually like covering her cleavage in a way that like it just again just little inconsistencies where I was like, why did they make this choice? I just don't understand. And like my last little bit,
No, go ahead.
just to wrap up, I just have so much to say. I'm so sorry.
No. This is why we're here. This is why we're here.
Jack Black. I love that man.
I was waiting for this. Yeah.
So much.
Yeah.
I love Jack Black. You're probably not listening, but I love you.
You should be.
He should be. He really should be. I feel like we'd be great friends.
You would be good friends with him. I could see
right?
that.
I think we could bounce off some really good energy on each other. He's just like a green flag human, and I've loved a lot of stuff he's done. And he's the kind of person for me, like, he gets a pass. If you do something stupid, it's fine. I'll still love you. Like, you know, we're locked in. And the idea of Jack Black as Claptrap was so beautiful to me because just to throw a little sentiment in there, me and Danny, my partner, our first concert we went to was Tenacious D, and
Yeah.
I have a really special place in my heart for Jack Black in a lot of ways, that because he was the role of Claptrap, I thought, I love it because I have Claptrap it's almost like I have Jack Black tattooed on my leg now, like, like not literally, but he's a robot, okay? We only need a voice and someone to read the right lines in the right way to make it convincing. And while I know that Jack Black has done a lot of other voice acting and he's great at it, it just blows my mind that they didn't try harder to just say, you know what, we don't need like a big name to Claptrap. We just need someone that has the vibe and the essence of Claptrap in the voice. And I love you, Jack Black, and you have an amazing voice. You're a sweet baby angel on the stage when you sing, but he didn't give Claptrap, and they didn't write Claptrap in the way that I was like, obviously I fell in love with Claptrap very early on. That's why I have it tattooed on my leg. And I could not fall in love with Claptrap in this movie because there was a quirk missing, and the voice I can get over for sure. Obviously, like, we're not trying to make an exact replica of the game here, but if you have one, you have to have one if you're not going to have the other. Like, you can't have like a lacking similar voice, but then also have a lack of the character's personality. Because yes, he's a robot, but he very much has a personality in the game, and you get that immediately from starting the game because he's like who introduces you to Borderlands pretty much. So
yeah.
It just, because he was such an iconic and huge character for the game, for me especially, I feel like there was still a miss there, which, I don't know, it's kind of like this thought, and I did jot this down, this thought came to mind, was like, it reminded me of, which is maybe a little bit of a stretch, but on that 70s show when they just like recast Lori and they were like, no one will fucking notice. No one will fucking notice. Like, at least get someone that looks a little bit more like her. Like, do like a lookalike contest. Try to find someone, or because she was like a troubled person anyway, just cut her out. She's in prison. She'll never show up again in the show. It's fine. Write her off. Donna's little sister never exists after that one episode. Like, so yeah,
that's right. She did have a sister, didn't she?
Right? She had to babysit her little sister, and then she never has a sister after that. So it's just, again, one of those things where it's like they replaced I don't know, it's like they were like trying to like, no one will notice that he doesn't sound like Claptrap. Like, just like, what, we'll add a little sound on his voice so it'll sound a little robotic and no one will know the difference. Like,
so David Eddings was the guy who voiced Claptrap originally. He unfortunately passed in 2007 or in 2009, pardon me. So rest in peace, sir. But
yes.
I did go through and listen to a couple of the clips because, you know, the tutorial, that is one thing about Borderlands. The tutorial is very fun because it's not a typical tutorial. Like it kind of like breaks the fourth wall, and there's some really great humor, and I like it's quite fun the way they go ahead and introduce you. The thing with Jack Black, so I will be the first to admit I'm still mad at Jack Black for kind of throwing Kyle under the bus when he said what he said about Trump. Like I he's still kind of on the real shit list for that. Like, be a better friend. But also, I just watched this movie, Dear Santa, that he did, where he plays the devil, and he basically tells the kid, like, "Hey, I'll give you 3 wishes, but I'll steal your soul." Like, and I'm not gonna lie, that movie, I was way more entertained than I had any right to be watching this movie. Because I'll be the first to admit,
it was cute too. The little kid,
the kid was sweet.
He was so adorable. I'm like, we must protect him at all costs. Like, he's so sweet.
And the twist that movie pulls at the end was something I was like, what the fuck? Like, you're actually doing this thing?
I'm not gonna lie, this movie was a little predictable for me. So my guess at the end, which, spoiler alert for anyone that hasn't seen
it's fine. You like, no one's watching Dear Santa. You should be.
At the end, I was like, oh, I was like, okay, like, he's not gonna take his soul after all, because he's gonna be like, he's such a good kid, like, we can't do that to him. Which, it kind of like, I wasn't like 100% on point. Obviously, I'm not like that brilliant, but
you're close. Give yourself some credit on that.
But yeah, I was so close, and then I was like, yeah. And then like the third wish, because it like didn't actually have to happen because the parents were already like falling back in love with each other or whatever. I was like, oh yeah, he's gonna like give him like a new brother or something. But of course, obviously bringing back the old brother kind of like twisted that a little bit more, where it was like, oh right, he can do crazy shit like that. But that's
like Pet Cemetery shit. I was like, you're bringing like, because then like, what the fuck do you do if you're the neighbor and you're like, I saw you get killed like a year and a half ago, and you're just like, so then that goes to like, okay,
the next one is the kid as a zombie turning into a zombie. Right? Is probably what it is. Like, a lot of like life after Beth giving like,
it's some Lisa Frankenstein shit where I'm like, okay, this kid is back. But then, like, what the fuck do you say if you're a neighbor? Because, like, who the fuck's gonna believe you? Like, this kid is just back. Is an alternate timeline? Like, has everyone's brains been like the line of questioning you start to go down is like,
that's when you insane. Like leave your life behind and start a new life, because nobody else can know that your child. I mean, I guess technically maybe the way that this is when time travel and like weird, this is when it gets real confusing. My brain could go so far into this rabbit hole. Like
I spit, so no bullshit, when I was reviewing it, I actually had to pause because I just found myself going down this rabbit hole, and I was like, I don't like it. Turned into like a 22-minute long review, which is way too fucking long for Dear Santa. I was just like, why am I spending this much fucking time? But back to Jack Black, I will say, I thought at points he was funny, but man, there was a point in like the last third where I was just like, this is kind of just grinding me down to a nub at this point. And like the joke has kind of ran itself into the ground at this point. It becomes Jar Jar Binks-ish to me. And that's where I kind of was like, oh, I don't like this now. Like, you kind of need to cut this out.
I feel that. And also to throw this in too, like, on just like, because there were like things where he said, I was like, okay, that's fine. But again, like, as much as I love Claptrap, like, he should have been my favorite of the movie, you know what I mean? But
yeah,
it was just, there was one line in particular towards the beginning when him and Lilith are still like just having met not long ago, but when they were getting into the vehicle to drive off, he says something about like, I can just sit in your lap or something to that effect. And it was just like, no. Like, that just, it was like one of those things where it's like, who wrote that and why? And just take that out and forget that ever happened, because it's just such a weird thing for anyone to say, but like for Claptrap to say it about things, like it's almost giving like, were you implying some weird undertone of a sexual thing? Or
that's how it, yeah.
And then they tried to make it funny by like showing him like in the cage on the back, because obviously she's a bitch and she's not gonna absolutely not going to be down with Claptrap sitting in her lap. I mean, no one wants a robot sitting in their lap while they're trying to drive, but like, it's just so weird, little things like that I picked up on. Where I'm like, fucking, why would you do this? Like, who is in charge here?
There's this point where, like, really early on, and I'll be real, this is when I just started kind of going like, they do this whole like a prophecy of a daughter of Iridia will open the vault, like very very Harry Potter, Star Wars, John Carter, you know, like all that sci-fi. And just the moment they say it, I was like, oh, so it's not Tiny Tina. It's clearly like there's no like twists or any like surprises in terms of plot. It is very, you know, point A to point B. Who's the guy? Who's the villain in this? What's their name?
Atlas.
Yeah,
Whatever
so
his first name was supposed to be, but Atlas in general.
yeah.
Atlas is like a gun corporation too in the game. Like there are Atlas brand games, Atlas brand guns and stuff too.
Is he an actual person in the universe, or?
I honestly don't remember. Like if he was, it was one of those very like quick and passing kind of like he was a very small piece of the universe overall. Because the main protagonist in or antagonist, sorry, the main antagonist in Borderlands throughout like most of the games is Handsome Jack, and the way that he was not even like, I don't know, it's just like on top of all the inconsistencies, the insane casting, it was like the story they chose was so fucking weird and off the wall and felt very like, it was like they created their own thing using Borderlands flavor instead of actually.
That's a great way to put it.
Because like, right, so and still in that flavor they missed, and it just, the whole, to wrap up what I was thinking, like looking at the overall picture when I was done, I was like, it feels like a super fan made this and like only got permission to use certain things from Borderlands from Gearbox or whatever, who owns the rights to this, that, and the other. But like, it was just so like the mark was so missed. Like it was like this movie is like the epitome in like the embodiment of like the accuracy of a stormtrooper. It just, what are you doing? Like you're just, it's like you're missing on purpose. Like what are you doing? Like,
so it's really weird. There's actually a very bad Kevin Hart joke in here where he's like, "You fake ass stormtrooper looking bitch," and I just like I groaned so loud at that line. I was like, "Oh
did
man!"
Disney
like,
approve of that though?
Yeah, I laughed because I was like, "Oh man, if this is the level of humor that we're going for, then this is in trouble." And here's the other, and I know what some people will say.
I didn't even catch that line, by the way. I just
Oh,
wanted to. I'm just literally. So I'm digesting that right now. Just like that is nothing that would be in Borderlands ever.
Oh yeah,
in a
no,
game,
it felt
not
like
once.
it felt like this really did feel like, you know what's really shitty is like I've seen fan films where like fans have clearly put love and research,
And it would have been better
time,
if a fan
and
did this movie.
and it would have 1,000% been better if a fan had
So much
resources
better.
to this, because like we were saying earlier, if you're gonna commit to this, fucking commit to this. The games are rated M. The games sell well, like they're rated well. Like I was going through Steam and I was just like, oh wow, like lots of ratings for like so people play these games.
They're kind of timeless too, if I might say, because I can go back and play any of the Borderlands 1, which I played in my like early 20s, and I'm just, not to give my age away, but I played it like a long time ago, half a lifetime ago, and it's like I can still go back and play it, and I just love the game so much, and just it now it brings me a nostalgia and stuff, and like they did make improvements in game 2 and game 3, and like, but even still with the lack of those small like improvements here and there, I can still go back and have so much fun playing, and I'm like, oh man, I hate that this little feature wasn't here in this game or whatever. It has such a replayability rather, that the fact that I want to forget that this movie existed is just like such a huge opposite end of the spectrum, because like I've barely already I have all these notes just so everyone knows. I have notes here, and we've barely made it through the first page of them.
So another couple things I will throw out. I don't think I chuckled a couple times, but I did not get a genuine laugh watching this. Which for a movie that's almost 2 hours and supposed to be a comedy, like an action comedy, is fucking unforgivable. I groaned more at the dialogue than I laughed with it, which is not the mark you need to be hitting. Fucking Lilith, maybe 20 minutes in, drops a "I'm getting too old for this shit," and I was just like, oh no, like, oh, we're doing
it's
this.
like they know they casted her old and they were like, let's just play on that and make it a joke instead. And that's I caught that too, and I was like, that kind of makes me hate this even more.
Yeah, exactly. Now I will say, because because I'm a total pig, fucking Gina Gershon is in this playing Moxie, and oh my god, like the character in general is very titillating, and and seeing Gina Gershon, who I've had a thing for years, I was like, that's just great. Like, good for you. But she's only in it for like 4 minutes, maybe. And then and I know she ends up being like, she is like a pretty decently like important character. There's no hints of that. She is like she has this one conversation with Lilith, and then is like they kicked her ass off set. It's like,
it was like a cameo.
It essentially is a cameo, and
Yeah.
I was so confused by that. I was like, well, then why even have her like in here if you're not going to do anything with her? So there's that. Also Kate Blanchett, like I thought her costume, because I actually looked up some Lilith cosplay. First off, cosplayers are amazing. And I'm not just saying that because cosplayers, but like, it's amazing the amount of work that cosplayers put into their shit. And I just see this costume, and I'm like, I think there is a decent amount of work put in the Tiny Tina's costume, because like you saw like the dead bunny like sticker and all, like in the vest and all that. I actually thought,
and the one pant leg rolled up, and the one like not so much, like just little things like that. Yeah, I think the costume stuff they did get pretty well overall, like for pretty much all the characters. But
I just thought Lilith's costume was boring. I thought Roland's costume was boring. The other thing too is the guns in this world. There are so many cool guns in these games, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, these are basic ass, like nothing about the ammo or anything, like, because there's a whole thing about the ammo in the games too, and like the characteristics of the guns, and like none of that is brought in here. They all shoot the same way. They all have the same effect. And so, which is such a big, important part of the games. Like, they encourage you to keep crafting, keep building, keep improving your weaponry, because the enemies get harder. And none of that is prevalent here. Everything shoots the same. Everything looks the same. There's not even different color skins for anything. I'm like, holy fuck.
Yes,
like all the guns are just black. Like, this might as well be Black Hawk Down. I'm just like, what are you guys doing? And it goes back to the whole coloring of the world, where I just went like come on. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. That was actually a perfect segue, because like just touching on Moxie, it's really interesting. I feel like this was one of the cast situations that really caught me by surprise, because it kind of, as I was watching, I started like, and that was what was honestly kind of exhausting. To give everybody an idea, this 1.5 and change movie took me 3 hours to watch, because I was digging into my Borderlands brain, and I was picking up on little details where I'm like, wait a second, I gotta research, I gotta go Google some stuff, and like really just like finding as much as and with Moxie specifically, my first initial thing was like, oh, okay, they did it again with Moxie. Like, I don't know how I feel about this, because I hadn't really seen much of her casting wise before watching the movie. Because as you said, I also didn't read any reviews and stuff. I just know that people were mad about it. So at first I was like, Moxie, I don't know, because I've always, again, loved Moxie. We love our busty babe. We love her. And she just, So at first I was like sitting there, I'm like, I don't know. But then I start thinking, in the movie, or in the game rather, sorry, in the game, she has two kids who are Ellie and Scooter. And Ellie and Scooter in the game are like decent to the story, like NPCs that you do meet along the way. And Ellie does become like a pretty decent part of this overall universe. In the third game, for example, she's on your sanctuary ship with you down in like the whatever, I can't remember the name of it right now, but she's like on the ship with you and you get missions from her and stuff. And so she just is kind of like a big part. And when I say big part, no pun intended, she's a huge woman. Like, she's huge. And she gives like grown woman vibes, whereas like Lilith, for example, you would look at Lilith and Ellie and be like, okay, Ellie might be a little bit older than Lilith. And so what was weird and what I pieced together and what made me actually end up loving their Moxie choice for the movie was that she is so much older in the game. Like, in the games that she's older because she has two kids that are grown, and it's, again, Scooter and Ellie.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, like, I almost feel like, which again is just so weird to have this movie with this terrible casting choice all seeped through. I think they might have actually casted Moxie better in this movie than like the game portrayed Moxie, because in the game she looks so young, and like clearly the way she presents herself, you would think like she's had some work done, like you can assume like she cares about her appearance and that she's putting that effort there, and you stay young a lot longer doing that and caring for yourself. So it was weird to me, because at first I was like, all right, she looks older in this movie, but then I start thinking like she should have been older in the game. So I want to commend them for choosing who they chose for Moxie. I do feel like she played it well, and she did like give the Moxie vibes off enough that it was like, okay, I'll let this one slide. Like, it wasn't like, holy shit, she's exactly who I would have picked, but it was like, in a pool of shit, there's a couple little golden nuggets, and I think she was kind of one of those little golden nuggets in there. And so yeah. And on that topic too, at the very end, when they're just like the ending scene, when they're all just kind of like, which again, I don't know why Star Wars keeps coming up right now, but when they're all
Star Wars ending.
Yeah, you know how they're like celebrating in the trees
and the
like,
fireworks are going off.
That is exactly what I was feeling, and I'm like, so anyway, they show like everyone just kind of like little like screen like drive-bys, I guess you want to call it, and they show Moxie standing there with Ellie and Scooter, and Ellie. Which Scooter looked pretty accurate. When I saw Scooter, I was like, oh, that's Scooter. Like, I saw Scooter first, and Scooter's just like this like redneck kind of vibe person, nothing like super significant about his appearance, but I still was able to be like, oh, that's supposed to be Scooter. And then I pieced together, oh, that's supposed to be Ellie. But this woman that they had, who I'm not sure who it was, but this woman they had chosen for Ellie, it was like, again, this actually just came up. I love all bodies. I just want to put this out there. I am not the perfect ideal shape of body, and that's okay. None of us are, and none of us should have to be or strive to be or want to strive for something that might even not be achievable. But she's a huge bitch. She's huge, Hunter. She's so big. Like, I have in my Facebook memories from over 10 years ago, I think, or close. Yeah, it was like probably 12 years ago or something. I had gotten this little like widescreen TV from someone or whatever for free. And I was like playing Borderlands on there, and I took a photo of the TV, and it was of Ellie, and I said, I got my widescreen just in time to see the fattest cel-shaded bitch I've ever seen. And I just, like, she's huge. Like, there's no denying it. She is ginormous. She's like this. She's like big enough. She would break my couch. Like, she's big. She's a big girl. And there's nothing wrong with that. But like, don't have somebody that has like my stature as Ellie, because it's like you don't have to find someone big. She has 2 seconds in the thing. Fluff it up a little bit up here, just a little bit. She doesn't have to be as big as she was in the game, but like do a little more effort. So this is what I'm saying, where like there's so many things that they like nailed little tiny things with like the characters where I'm like, okay, they did that okay. But then like there's just so much where I'm like, why did they do this to us? So
Fair.
I know that's a little long-winded to talk about Ellie and
No.
Scooter showing up at the end, but again, it was just, and you did touch on something where you mentioned the Firehawk thing, and I know again bouncing around. In fact, no, let me actually start really quick. Towards the very beginning, I also just want to point out, because I literally wrote this down. I said, what the fuck, Tiny Tina and Roland being the same height is crazy. Like,
yes, yeah, and they are not doing any camera tricks to hide that shit. Like they are legit
not even
the same height. Yeah.
And they even like make jokes about him being like the shortest soldier they've ever seen or whatever.
Like
and it's
within 10 minutes. Within 10 minutes that joke is made.
Yes. So again, like to the Kate Blanchett Lilith joke about I'm too old for this shit. It's like they knew they picked, it's like they did it on purpose where they're like, I think the Borderlands people will understand this humor. Let's just get these terrible, terrible choices and let's make it funny and let's make it obviously a poor choice. Like, that's not the energy that even came off, because the humor was lacking so much in this movie. Had they went really funny with it, I probably could have gotten past a lot of the casting problems. But because it was like this mundane take on a Borderlands universe, it was just, what are you doing? And Krieg, just to throw this out there, because Krieg was kind of like, he's not a super big guy. You know what I mean? Like he
is Krieg the one with the mask?
Yes, Krieg. Okay. I do love the casting choice for Krieg, I will say. I did too. Problems with that.
I did too. He actually oh my god, Florian Mutnow. God, that's a cool ass name. That's a great porn name, actually.
I know he's not American. I can't remember what ethnicity he is, but I know he has an accent like in real life. He's not from
here. That's motherfucking Drago from Creed 2. Oh shit. Okay, that makes a ton of sense, and he was in Shang-Chi. He's great in there. That totally makes sense why I actually liked him. Okay, yeah, that because
he was great. He had the physique, the attitude, the personality, the voice, like all of it just checked all the boxes. And of course, early on, my initial thought in my head was like, of course, the one character they get right is wearing a mask. Like hello, like excuse me.
I thought the same thing. I was like, of course, like you know, it's gonna, and I realized how incredibly not straight this is gonna sound. But I was kind of looking at looking at his body. I'm like, why does his body look familiar? I'm like, oh, okay, and like but I actually
he's a beautiful man.
He's a very handsome man, but
he's a very beautiful man.
But I think him and Tiny Tina, like their chemistry is actually like good, but you only get like 7 minutes of it, maybe. Like it's almost like the movie wants them to not interact. It's really weird because like he's like her protector, so you would think so much of the movie would be, you know, that. To be honest, I think if you had made the first 20 or so minutes just them, and then you did the Blanchett stuff, maybe this wouldn't have such a like, because at least you could say the beginning was good and then it falls off, but it's almost like the script, it's almost like the actors are fighting against the script in terms of wanting to have that chemistry, and the script is like, no, it's about Lilith, fuck you, and it's very frustrating, because I think if you take them out and gave them like a show, like did like a 6-episode Tiny Tina show, and change, I mean, obviously you need to change like the writer and the director and the cinematographer, like everyone else needs to go, like just to keep them. But then you get someone who actually knew how to like write this, like I think you could have something. I will say too, that's another giant mistake I had, and I was just thinking about Fallout the whole time, which is a great fucking show. Why you made this a 2-hour long film, I do not understand. With something with this much canon, it's like, y'all, do this as a show or a miniseries. Like, trying to cram all this into a film, it's just like you have too many characters. You're pulling from way too much shit.
And then it starts lacking too, because you have to cut stuff out, and like I don't know. It just, yeah, there's definitely a lacking. They could have just done this so much better in so many different ways. Like, just small changes could have made such a big difference. Like you said earlier, like having Idris Elba doing Roland would have, I think that could have even pulled such a different chemistry for the entire cast, even if it wasn't like, even if it was still Cate Blanchett and whatever. Yeah, there was just such a lacking in that area that it didn't need to be an hour and a half long movie. And I also, earlier you mentioned, and I just, the guns and the lack of the, oh my God, sorry to derail.
No, you're good. You're good.
I just, that was one of the huge things that really immediately stuck out for me, because the game, like the first game, one of the things that people talked about is like, it doesn't really have a story. Like, there's no story to this. But then it was like, it's not about the story. It's about guns and looting. That's literally all the guns about. Like, that's what the game was about. It was about shooting guns and looting stuff. Like, those are the like core important things in Borderlands. And then of course, then you add like the nice, like silly humor and raunchy humor, and then you add like the colorfulness of the characters. And I think the cell shading also adds like such a cool thing to it that makes it unique in its own way, because it's almost comic, but it's not.
Yeah.
And I think that because there was so much that I was already going to probably get lost in translation turning it into a movie, that they approached it in such a way that didn't really work out. And talking about the guns, early on, right before the 14-minute mark, when Lilith gets off the bus with Marcus, which also shout out, they casted Marcus was the other one where I'm like, where did they find this man? He's perfect for the role. He had the right
fun
look.
for the little bit he was in there.
His voice, I haven't looked it up, but like, I'm not convinced that he wasn't the one that did Marcus in the games, because it was so on point that, like, again, it was just so surprising. So the fact that my top favorite casting for this movie was Marcus, Mad Moxie, and kind of tiny Tina a little bit. Like, I was again on the fence with her, but the way that my favorite, like Krieg and Marcus and Moxie were my three favorite castings, and they weren't even main characters. I mean, Krieg was, but wasn't, arguably.
So I will say, looking it up, he was not Marcus in the games, but he was Dutch in both Red Dead Redemptions.
I knew you were gonna say Red Dead.
So he actually does have a video game. He was Paul in L.A. Noire. Oh, I knew his voice sounded familiar. Okay, so he does have some history in voice acting.
He nails it. I feel like if they did, I mean, they are doing Borderlands 4, but if they needed another Marcus, like, they could easily get that guy and nobody would really know the difference. And he fit the stature. And it's just so weird to me. Like, did they have a team of people casting or getting, like, doing the casting, and then some people were, like, nailing it and other people were just not great at their job? It's so weird to me how that worked out.
It feels like there are too many cooks in the kitchen involving this.
Yes.
Like that's like, because it feels like this movie's being like, the whole time as I'm watching this, I'm like, okay, you have all these characters. It's too many characters, whatever. If you turn this shit around and you make this not, you're the chosen one story, and make this a Magnificent Seven, we have to liberate the planet, and then you make it to like basically a Western, which Borderlands at multiple points is, that actually probably would have helped. Like, I think that significantly changes the pacing on this, because the pacing on this, holy fuck, the pacing is all over the goddamn place.
Very much, yes.
To go rapid fire here a bit before we wrap up, just some stuff that I
It's funny. I was like, we can do a rapid fire because I've got some small details that I picked up that I just really got to get out there.
Okay, cool. This is literally a line. Lilith, can you grab my badunkadunk? That is a line that exists.
That is very Borderlands humor, though, I will say.
I will say, I think by that point, I was just like, okay, you're trying to put the humor in here. You've already set up like a bad foundation. Even the dust in this movie looks fake. Like I was like, for being on this planet, like it should, like everyone looks clean. And I'm like, why do you like now? Obviously, this is coming from a big Mad Max fan, but that's something about those movies that's so cool is that everyone is fucking dirty by the end of them because you should be, because you're on a fucking dust planet. And just in this, everyone just looks so proper. And just, I was like, that's
like coming back from Burning Man clean. Like that's not
exactly.
Cleaning out dust from every orifice for 2 weeks. Like
there's a chase sequence. So that's the other thing that killed me is like there is not the closest thing to an action scene in this that I like. There is like 1 or 2 shots of like Blanchett like kind of doing some Matrix shit where like while like Ace of Spades is playing.
I kind of thought that was a little too much, if I'm being honest. I know what scene you're talking about. I was thinking like, what's with all the
yeah, like, but that's my point. There's 1 or 2 shots that I thought looked cool, but it almost gets into that that movie Wanted where it's like so much of that, like it's gung fu and it's like, but it's too much of it. And the quick cuts, there are so many goddamn quick cuts in here that like even Jason Bourne would be like easy with the quick, like there's so goddamn many quick cuts and it's just on shooting. I'm like, why are you cutting so often? Like I can't absorb any of the fucking action. And I was getting really irritated because like I think if there's one thing this movie in theory should have nailed, it's the action. There's this one scene where I would have given the movie some credit where Roland is like the bad guys are closing in and Roland's like, I got this. He like hits the elevator. He's like, all right, I got the, whatever. I got this sacrifice. And then it's nothing. It's it's fucking not like I kind of thought maybe this movie will actually have the balls to actually do this. And then it's like, oh no, it meant nothing. His sacrifice was for naught. Like he's fine. And I just went, cool. Like why? Like, and then I got mad at myself because I was like, I thought you would do something correct, and I gave you a chance to hurt me again, and you did.
It becomes abusive relationship with this movie. It really did, and just it definitely pulled at the brain juice too. Again, like having played the game for so much too, like on top of like all of what you experienced, I was also experiencing like little things, like for example, just something so tiny around 14 minutes into the game or the movie. See, I keep mixing this myself up here. But right before the 14-minute mark, Lilith had just Claptrap was like kind of coming around when she just got off the bus when Marcus, which by the way, that was probably, which is so dumb to say, but that was probably my favorite scene because it was the most true to Borderlands that whole entire movie got, because the first game starts out, you're on a bus and you pick your character there and Marcus is driving the bus and he drops you off and then you meet Claptrap. So like that aspect I loved, but she gets off the bus and Claptrap comes around, she unholsters her gun. And when she unholsters her gun, there's a sound bite that happens. And when I heard this sound bite, my brain, it just, I have a jukebox full of music in my head for anybody that doesn't know who I am as a person. I am an audiophile. I am an audiophile. I'm all about music. Yes. Anyway, I heard that noise and I'm like, that just felt wrong. What was that? Why did that feel wrong? So what did I do? I go on YouTube and find a 6-hour gameplay and I'm scrolling through trying to find different spots for different sounds. And I'm like, this sound is in the game. It's in the game. 100%, no doubt. But where is it at in the game? Because this didn't feel right. And I hope there's no other game. If there's any gamers out there, hopefully can correct me on this maybe at some point. But The sound that happens when she unholsters her gun is the sound that happens when you pick up a mission item in the game. Which, to me, is like, I'm like, okay, are they trying to do some, like, is there some kind of, like, thing here that I'm missing where they're trying to be real deep about it? Where they're like, oh, it's like she's picking up the mission of the movie or something. But it's like, don't make that sound when she's unholstering her gun, because that's not the sound that happens in the game. And like those little tiny things just piss me off. And to add to the only other little sound bite that I really caught that just irritated me
Yeah.
at the end when Atlas like opens up his thing and he's got the like shield health things or whatever in his pockets.
Yeah.
The sound it makes, another thing happened where I'm like, this is wrong. That's the sound that happens when you pick up a health for yourself. Which, okay, you're kind of on the right realm because it's health shield related, but it's like, that's such a stretch. Don't put it in there if you're not using it right. And I just, little things like that where someone that hasn't, maybe they've only put like a few hours into the game, or maybe they haven't played it at all, they're going to not notice these little things. It's just so subtle that they're not going to be like, oh, that was not supposed to be there. But like, if Gearbox was involved with this, what were you doing?
It's a Gearbox production. They have to
That's
release
what I'm saying, Gearbox. What were you doing? Like, it's like they forgot what their own game was about. Like, what are you doing? And those little things really just drove me insane because of all the other stuff on top of just like where they could have gone with this. And also just little things that were very wrong at the end where I was pulling up skill trees and everything because I'm like, I know I need to validate what I'm thinking here. But so when she becomes the Firewalker, right, she ends up like hitting him with these like her powers, whatever.
Yeah,
I don't think they have a name for it. Right.
They never define it.
Right. So she like saves Tiny Tina from falling down the hole, and then she hits Roland because he's like getting attacked. So it's like implying that this is some kind of like shield that's like protecting her people. That's not a thing in Lilith's skill tree. Hello. What are you doing? That is not a power. Like, unless I missed it and looking through her entire skill tree, and I just missed it when I was playing the game because I was always picking sirens. I played Lilith first. I played Maya first. I played all the sirens first. And the fact that they got that so wrong. And so Maya, another siren, not Lilith, has a power called phase lock, where she essentially does something very similar to that. It's this glowy orb thingy, and it lifts them up into the air. But you do this to your enemies, so they're helpless in the air, and you can kill them before they hit the ground to try to attack you again. So, like, the way that they made her have almost like a Maya type thing that wasn't even correct, it was like, so to end the movie on such a note where I was like, as if you couldn't have pissed me off more, you botched this. And it feels like they wrote the story first, and then they were like, oh, but how could she save them? Oh, just make her do this. But that's not her power. That's not her power. She does not have that power. She's a Firehawk. Her shit is based on fire and killing enemies, not holding her.
It's the name. It's okay. It's okay. It can't hurt you anymore. It can't hurt you anymore.
I know. And I told myself, I said after this podcast, like I have never been so more relieved for a movie to be over in my entire life, because as you know, I went very, very quickly in such a like organic way. I went from like, fuck yeah, Borderlands making a movie, to like, I don't know about these casting choices, but I'll still give it a chance. And the next thing I know, the movie's out, and I'm like, oh, it's been out for 2 months. Yeah, I'm not watching that. Because I'm like, the more I sat on the casting choices that I did know from the get-go, I was just so irritated that I say he, like there's one guy in charge of this whole movie, but like, oh Oh my gosh. I swear, if they try to pick this up again and just make another one or redeem themselves, just anyone that's listening, just don't. Just don't, please. For the sake of humanity and the sake of video game lovers everywhere and the Borderlands universe, please don't. Yeah, it was a very hard movie to sit through, and the lack of elemental guns and the colors, and also the way they just threw random characters together, because Tiny Tina was never a character like on that level, and vault keys are always physical things in every single game. Lilith, maybe I'm forgetting something, and I apologize, and I can revoke my Borderlands card now if I'm forgetting a main plot line in the story here, but to my understanding, it's always been like physical keys that you get. You have to sometimes get more than one.
That's how I remember that.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like Tiny Tina, like her being like a key. I just smelt bullshit from the get-go, and I was like, this story doesn't make sense. And also, why was Mordecai not in here? Hello, like he was also a very main character with Lilith and Roland, and Mordecai was arguably way bigger of a person in the story than Tiny Tina or even Krieg. Krieg was a DLC character in Borderlands 2. He wasn't even a main character. Dude,
No, see, this is why I wanted you on, so you could get all this out. Few
Thank
other
you.
things.
This has been therapeutic. Thank you.
You're welcome. Few other things I'll throw out here real quick. There is a line delivered by Atlas that I straight up just went, all right, cool. You just went down even more. He goes, cool intro, Roland. You might have killed me if not for my Atlas auto shield. And the way that line is delivered, I was like, y'all. I was like,
that was right before he opened it up and the wrong sound came up.
Yeah. I was just like, like people, like can we not? There is a car chase sequence that I straight up was like, it's amazing how just lifeless these actions.
Was it when they ended up in Treacher or in
Pisswash
Gully? Yeah, that scene too, like the whole like piss coming in. I'm like, I know you guys are trying to be funny, but you've missed it again. And then like the world of Pisswash Gully, like yeah, there's worlds in Borderlands and planets that kind of look like that. They're just kind of like, whatever, but it took me out of the Borderlands feel. There was something that just did not feel Borderlands about that. Like going back to what you said, like it almost felt more Mad Maxy, where it was like more, I don't know. It just took me out of the feels for a minute. Whereas like going back to the beginning where Lilith is at the bar and she just like turns around and like shoots these guys. It's like, that felt like Borderlands because I'm like, oh, right, this is Borderlands. People are going to get shot all over the place. And then like it just lacked so much from there that just, yeah.
And that's the last thing I'll bring up. There's a point where Roland shoots a guy point blank range in the head. No blood on the back wall. No, like not even like a spatter. Not a shadow effect. Lilith grabs a guy by his face and rams his face like into these metal bars, and like there's no sound effect. Like I'm just like, y'all, like these are violent games. Like they're very violent games. Like, can you please play up some of that? And we're no longer in this weird age where, radar films don't make money. But fucking Deadpool and Wolverine just made $1 billion. Just made $1 billion.
Like Deadpool would never work as PG-13. It just absolutely wouldn't. So like this, I feel like Borderlands was kind of like in that same realm, but they were like, well, we can get away with PG-13 and just water it down a little bit, which again, they could have gotten away with it for sure. Like they don't even need like all the blood in my opinion, because Borderlands is not really super bloody,
But things need to have consequence though.
Exactly.
And it feels like this never does. And it's
or the elemental guns, they could have easily added like corrosive guns and done some cool like corrosive like thing where the person like they dissolve in this
Yeah,
corrosive whatever. And it's like,
exactly.
that wouldn't have had to be as like gory or bloody. Like, yeah, it's kind of a little rough, but add a little bit of that in there. Still keep it PG-13.
They
but
have
like,
someone dissolve into a puddle in fucking Ant-Man. Like, you're telling me you couldn't have found a way to do
Yeah.
something like that here just to get across the violent
Exactly.
nature of this?
Because the only elemental related stuff I saw, I think there was like a couple flame related, maybe like flamethrower type things that the enemies had, and it's just like, again, there's no corrosive guns, no, they weren't shooting fire bullets. Like, I'm corrosive guns all day. I stand corrosive guns. They are the best guns in the game. I mean, yeah, there's other ones. It depends on who you're fighting, obviously, but the fact that you didn't even have one corrosive gun in there and they all looked so boring and just God.
So in closing, getting to grades here, this made $30 million. It made 15.4 million domestic, 15.5 million international.
Wasn't the budget 120 or the
very good. The budget was 115 million for production, and then it was another 30 for marketing and distribution. So goddamn, 145 mil and you only make 30. Like that's rough. Like, that is
proof
rough.
is in the pudding that they need to not do this shit again.
Yeah, the thing is, it's an IP, so they will inevitably try again. But what I would suggest, and look, like, I haven't watched it, but Alea watched Fallout, and everyone I've talked to who's watched Fallout has had nothing but praise.
It's
to
so
heap on it.
good. It's so good.
So like, so that's awesome, and shout out Walton Goggins, he's wonderful on there from what I've heard.
Last of Us, also a really good adaptation.
Which I need to finish before season 2. So I've talked about it on the show.
Pedro.
He's I know he's
the greenest flag in the entire world. I don't care who you are. He's the greenest flag of a human being in human form. He's protect him at all costs, world. Protect him at all costs.
So I need to finish it up. I got through the first 2 episodes. I will say that too. There is no chemistry in here that touches anything in the last of. Again, I'm 2 episodes in, and it's just like someone clearly loves that source material and got how to make it work.
Yes, they nailed it.
And it's me, people. I'm a giant ass nerd. I want to see all fandoms represented well, and not to have these greedy ass studios take advantage of IPs. Like, my list will get redone again, but fucking Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is my 4th favorite film right now. Like, I was like, Alea was holding my hand as I'm crying because Keanu Reeves nailed Shadow. Like, and those are movies they should be phoning it in, and yet they keep adding more lore and caring, and it confuses me that a studio actually would do that. It's kind of amazing, actually. So there's no excuses anymore. Like you should be able to do this and do it correctly. I even just a little bit of stuff I like. There's maybe about 10 minutes of this movie I like, but out of an hour 45, that's nothing. And that's the other thing I will say too, is I thought this was 2 hours, 5 minutes easy. It's an hour like 47. I was like, holy shit.
It was such a long, it was a time book for sure.
It definitely felt longer than it actually was. Giggity. So as getting my final thoughts, I was just bummed when I got to the end of this, because I was like, I mean,
I was excited I got to the end because it was over, but yeah, I know what you mean.
I actually had friends legit message me and go like, when did you turn it off? I'm like, oh no, I finished it. And I had multiple people go like, dude, that's crazy that you finished it. I turned it off. And I'm like, oh, that's, so like this movie's in this weird 3-way with Joker and Red One, where I'm just like, these movies with big ass budgets, where I'm just like, could y'all write a script or fucking care and just not throw away millions upon millions of dollars that could go to, soup kitchens or, the arts or me. I'll take $1 million. Give me money.
Or to our environment that AI is actively fucking up. So
like so much. Very nice. Tying it all back. But yeah, just on principle, this is a go fuck yourself, even if I didn't hate it as much as I'm presenting. But I also do hate it as much as I'm presenting. Like, someone brought it up the other day, like yesterday, and I got mad all over again. And I was like, okay, if I'm getting mad 24, like a day or two after watching it, like I know this is, like I really don't know, because like I normally will do a tie for a 10 spot, because I think because it's my list. Fuck you, but I'm between Red One and Joker and this. I'm like, I might have to have my first ever 3-way tie for 10, because I'm like, I hate them all so much for how they're explaining their fan base. It's like, I think you all deserve to be dragged more. So, yeah, this is a go fuck yourself. I was just I was just sad at the end of this. I was just bummed and I was irritated, because I know that there's going to be like a Borderlands fan who watches this, who's like in film school, and they're just like, oh man, like I could write a Borderlands script. And I would be like, you know what? You should write a Borderlands script. And
Blow this one out of the water.
yeah, because this, like, they
Not
made
gonna be hard.
yeah, I mean, how many of those Resident Evil movies did they make that were not like the games at all? Those kept making money. So it's like,
yeah,
like, but those are at least kind of dumb fun. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
I think had they not focused as much as like dumping like however much they dumped into like such a big cast list and put that into like back into the set and the characters and the story as a whole, I think that would have made the movie so much better. Like, just put one decent, like, make Lilith some like more fitting big name or whatever, or like half big name, and just to like get, I know how movies work. You want to get at least one name in there. Sonny did that with Danny DeVito, bringing him in, and that worked and took the show off like crazy. So I understand the concept of having a cast and how important that is to get at least one name on the poster. But God, they could have like, just the fact that so many Borderlands is such a timeless thing and it's been around for so long. Like, just if that obviously is your audience, maybe just focus more on the stuff that actually matters and not the cast, because no Borderlands fan is going to be like, oh man, the cast, no one knows who this cast even is, I'm not watching that. No, they're going to look at the trailer and be like, wow, they captured this, they captured that, this looks like a great adaptation of the game and I'm excited to watch it, which is not what they did with this movie. And I'm going to agree with you, this is a go fuck yourself rating, because I love you, Kevin Hart, and all the other cast members, Jack Black, but like, I hope when they ask y'all to do it again, you say, that's gonna be a hard pass from me.
Yeah. This was rough to get through, y'all. This really was, because
It was.
because I really, because I had a couple of people go like, because I'm finalizing the worst of list. I'm not going as hard in the paint this year, because I watched God's Not Dead a couple weeks ago. Like, I've already done my due diligence, and I'm still mad about that goddamn movie. And I have a Reagan movie to watch with Dennis Quaid. So I think after that, I'm cashing out. Like, I think I've done my due diligence. But I will say, if they do this again and you need a new Moxie, I vote Sydney Sweeney. Because she would nail the role. but yeah, this shit just, honestly, this isn't even one of those like, should I watch it if I'm curious about? No, like there's honestly nothing here for you. Like, it's not even an ironic watch. It's just a waste of your time. And if you're a fan of this franchise, it'll just make you mad. And I don't want that for y'all. Y'all deserve better. Just if there is one positive, I will say in closing, they got that Borderlands 4 trailer out so fucking quick after this. Like, once this hit VOD, they're like, we need people to fucking forget about this movie. Borderlands 4 Game Awards. See, like we'll make you forget about it. Yeah. So I mean, because I'll be real, I bet they were probably sitting on that Borderlands 4 news for like spring, and they're like, we need to get this we need to restore some faith in the Borderlands brand. Let's get this trailer out. So,
well, I will say to that, to my understanding, one of the like things as to why they had to like push it out so like, oh my god, we got to get this like announced right now, was mostly because I can't remember the two games, but there's two big games set to come out next year, and they only have like certain chunks of windows where they can release it for next year. Otherwise, they'll have to push it to 2026, and it's just been so long since Borderlands. Well, not that long, but I just think they're, like you said, ready to push it out and maybe help it overshadow the turd of a movie that just came out recently, because the Borderlands fans are pissed off, but we're still playing Borderlands. We still love Borderlands. It didn't ruin Borderlands for us in any way. So there's that part. There's the plus side there. But in fact, I feel like I need to like redeem myself and like as soon as I get off here, like start playing Borderlands again, even though I just finished playing through. I'm like level 50 something on my Borderlands 3, my like third or fourth Borderlands 3 character already. And I can, any time of the day, someone's like, you come play Borderlands, you want to play right now? Yeah, let's go. Let's play Borderlands. But if anyone ever asks me to watch the movie again, they can go fuck themselves too. No, but I will say I immediately went and messaged one of my best friends, Brian, and I said, have you watched the movie yet? Because we had kind of chatted, like you and I had chatted about it throughout the pre-process of like intriguing, like, what's it gonna be? Maybe it'll be okay, maybe it'll be a decent movie, whatever.
Yeah.
I immediately messaged him and I was like, I don't know if you've watched it yet, but don't. It's just a waste of time and energy and rage, because that's all it's gonna bring you in your life. It's just a waste of time and rage.
I actually had one of my friends on Blue Sky message me, and they're like, dude, you watched it? I'm like, I'm literally finishing it now. They're like, dude, I can't believe you, because they asked me, they're like, are you a big fan of Borderlands? I'm like, no, I'm more of a novice. And they're like, oh, I am a fan. I watched 20 minutes and I turned it off. I'm like, yeah, that seems to be the consensus from a lot
again
of
the fact that he made it through 20 minutes, kudos, because had I not been coming on here to talk about the movie, which I still would have had a lot to say, let's be honest, but
yeah,
I would not have watched it otherwise. So it was already one of those like lost causes, like don't even care. I just didn't care anymore. I was just already at a point where I'm like, it's not gonna make my life any better to watch this movie. And I was right.
Yeah, you were on the money. But yeah, y'all, that's our review for Borderlands the film. It's I was gonna say it's streaming on Stars. I paid the
the
Black Friday. Yeah, like I will say Stars has some. Watch Party Down if you have Stars.
Yes.
Stars Party Down is great. You should watch that.
Or skip Borderlands and watch Party Down. We love some Adam Scott.
Yeah, watch that. Or or watch Sweet Pea, which is kind of like female Dexter. That's fun. That's on Stars too. Like I
have to check that out.
There's just better things to do with your time. But I will say, just go
play Borderlands.
There you go. Yeah,
for 2 hours. You'll be way more happy.
Yeah, like Borderlands. Actually, let me go on Steam real quick. Let's see if there's a sale on Borderlands before we get out of here.
I know the Pandora's Box was on sale kind of recently, which has all of the Borderlands things that have come out, all the DLC for all 3, well, 4, 5, 6 games, because it has the Tales of Borderlands as well. So if you're looking to get all of the Borderlands, just say screw it and go straight for the Pandora's Box and just get all of them. Because there's a lot of really good DLC in the games too. A lot of really fun stuff.
Holy shit, that is okay. So that is actually a deal. So the Pandora's Box collection, it is normally $569.37. It is on sale for $33.03 right now.
It's so worth it, the amount of content you get, and it's just all so good. That's the thing.
That's the game. Wild.
There's solid content just 100% throughout. There's not a moment. I don't want to talk about pre-sequel because this is going to be a whole new podcast, but aside from pre-sequel, because they just tried to do a little something different, and I would argue they got something wrong with the coding of certain things. But anyway, nonetheless, all Borderlands, they're all fun, all of them, even the pre-sequel, I'll say that much. But yeah, it's so fun. Just go play and get sucked in for hours, looting all the guns, and
So
yeah,
so
it's fun.
so yeah, people do that if you really
Yeah.
want to. I mean, I will say I have the Game of the Year edition of Borderlands 2, which I'll be real, I don't even remember buying, but like that's like Borderlands 3 is 20, like I mean Borderlands 3 Ultimate Edition alone is 25.53, so just off that alone it makes sense to just get the fucking box. But
Mhm.
yeah, like fucking the first Borderlands, the Game of the Year enhanced, that's $3. Like that right there is what you would pay essentially to rent this movie, and I would argue you would have much more fun. Not even argue, you will have
A
much more
lot more
fun.
hours of fun, a lot more hours of fulfillment, and just yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so it's just
so don't waste your money on the movie. Waste your
yeah.
money on the game.
Yeah, so there you go, people. But that's our review for Borderlands. Christina, thank you so much for coming on and being willing to suffer a little bit. I appreciate it. I appreciate your moxie. But yeah, people. Before we get, oh wow, I didn't even God, I didn't even. Before we get out of here, oh god, what do I have coming up? I was gonna do. Oh no, I am. So I'm doing a stream on Wednesday because AEW officially hits HBO Max. So AEW Dynamite and their pay-per-views, I think their pay-per-views too, will be streaming on there, but the weekly shows will be streaming on there. So for all you people who have been watching AEW for VPN like I have been, you can actually watch it on HBO Max now, which will be really easy and convenient. But
Or
I'll
if you
be
haven't been watching it like me, now you can watch it.
yeah, exactly. Now you can watch it. But I'll be live streaming. I'll be live streaming that on Wednesday, and then Friday, I might get back in the Resident Evil 4 on Friday. Might stream that. So just keep an eye out for that. And then I have an interview, or had an interview with actress Romina Dugo about her film I Like Movies. She was also on So You Think You Can Dance. For those of you who remember that show, she's fucking awesome. That video review is up on the channel now, and then the review for the film will be up tomorrow, as well as the audio version of the interview. My review for Sonic 3 will be up this weekend. There is actually no new movies out this weekend, which I was fucking shocked by. So all the Oscar stuff is coming out over the next couple weeks. So Nosferatu, which fucking rules, by the way. The Brutalist, Sing Sing. My review for Baby Girl is up on the channel right now. I'll have a review for Wicked. It's fine. It's fine, people. Stop yelling at me because it's not on my fucking best stuff. I've already had multiple people be like, dude, like where is Wicked on your top 10? And I'm like, it's not. Like it's a part one. I don't put part one.
It wasn't a mistake.
Yeah, like it's good. It's a good movie. It's fine. It's fine. But yeah, so lots of reviews coming up, y'all. And then I'll just say in closing, I know we said at the beginning of the show, but I know everything is a lot. I know the world is a lot. I know things are heavy. If you are going out and partying tomorrow, please, for the love of fuck, take an Uber. Do not drink and drive, for the love of God. And I had a friend get a DUI, and when they broke down the cost of like what everything is, how like a DUI basically like essentially costs you like $5,000 at the end of the day,
It's insane.
I was like, holy fuck, that's a lot. So yeah,
To be fair,
please,
it's a lot cheaper than costing your life or somebody else's.
that is also true. But $5,000, that's a gaming computer right there. You know, that's a great ass gaming computer, $5,000. So yeah, people, I know surcharges are a bitch. I mean, I Uber all the time. I get it, but just seriously, please Uber, or stay home and drink like I'm gonna do with my cats tomorrow. Because
Same. My couch. I'm already here. I'm ready. I'm ready
yep,
for the New Year's.
yep. I've got some beer. I've got some elixir to throw in my drinks. I've got weed. I'm good. I'm not leaving the house. But But Christina, again, homie, thank you so much for coming on. This was delightful.
Thank you for
Love
having
you.
me. It was so fun. We'll have to do it again, please.
We absolutely will. But everyone, stay safe out there. Take care of each other. Give someone a hug. Give someone a compliment. And never forget, as always, to keep it real, y'all. Happy New Year, and I will talk to y'all on Wednesday. Have a good one.
Bye.